Welcome everyone to an episode of the Ol'Timers Comic Book Show. I'm your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes, and joining me as always, it is the ever reliable, the ever dependable, it's the
Hey,
Professor.
reliable and
Woo!
dependable. I wish my first wife told me that.
Well, I love you. I love you more than her, though. There you go.
I think that is definitely true.
Yeah.
That's why she's my ex.
Eagle Eye viewers will know that we had down our 13th Crusader, who has unfortunately a mission to undertake. Can't talk about it. It's on the hush hush.
It's his long recovery from our Jeopardy episode.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Is he like he's in hiding because he knows if he comes back and asks us a tough question, we'll batter him? Yeah, probably.
He's burned out.
But I didn't say that 13th. He said that. I didn't say it. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Oh.
All right, excellent. So, theme of the week this week is DC over the last 10 days or so have kind of teased a major event for 2024. Not a lot has gone on. No big explanations other than it is 30 years in the making. Now I got thinking, I was like, 30 years? That sounds like our cup of tea. So
that's right in our wheelhouse, Johnny.
that's like they've called us up and said, "Can you talk about some comics from 30 years ago?" That's what I heard. I don't know.
That so you'll have to explain to me what's going on in DC today. I haven't read a DC book since the pandemic. So
well let's see what's going on. Well, so you've got Batman who's having a crisis of identity. In Detective, he's been kicked off. It's kicked out of Gotham, and Gotham's forgotten all about him. It's kind of like a different type of Nightfall. Superman has got now Superman family. Power Girl's back, doing her thing. What else is going on? Tons. Justice League's gone, been replaced by the Titans. Amanda Waller's starting this whole sort of diatribe, this influence in the world against our heroes. So man, shed loads.
well, is it any of it good?
Some's good. Some's good.
Okay.
Some's good. If you want to find out what's going on in the more recent DC universe,
check out the Definitive Crusade.
There you go.
Yeah,
check out that podcast, and they'll talk about all the stuff that's going on. Constantine's back in the Black Label book, so that'll be food for thought for people who like the Vertigo stuff. But yeah,
I have to tell you, I am going to shout out the Absolute books. Have you seen those Absolute hardcover books?
I've seen them, but they are pricey volumes.
I just picked up the 3 hardcover bound Absolute volumes of Preacher, and they are fantastic. Ennis and Dylan in an oversized hardcover. The book's got the gold leaf feathering on the back, so if you want to take it out of the case and just put it on the shelf, it looks like a dictionary volume, and
wow.
it is fabulous. I'll show it to you after. I don't want to get up and get it now, but I'll
no, it's fine. It's fine. I like the idea of them. I absolutely do love them. But I kind of think to myself, if I've already got the book, I feel a bit, as good as it looks, I do feel a little bit not a bit jaded about them, to be honest. I was talking to someone on outside the panels, and they said they had the absolute version of Year One, and on the glossy, oversized, glossy paper, gorgeous colours come through. And I'm like, well, Year One's not supposed to be glossy. It's supposed to be all nice and gritty and grimy, and Gotham at its worst, not Gotham at its prettiest. And then he said, but at the back of the book, they reprint the book in its original colour format. So I'm like, well, why am I buying the book then? Because I've already got it in the regular.
See, I buy the hardcovers because I have a lot of the originals. up on the up in my attic, but I never want to take them down. I don't want to touch them. Like like why would I take out a long box of comics and then have to go through and sort them and take them out of the plastic, put them back in to read the individual issues? When really I just want to read the story. So that's why I like Marvel Unlimited. That's why I like
Mhm.
digital versions, but I love having my bookcase where I mean, you can see those
Actually, yeah.
right behind me. But I can take that preacher volume and I can sit there and I can flip through it and I can read it so I can feel like I'm actually reading a comic. Um, but it's great. I love it.
I think if I wasn't buying floppies, I would probably be very similar, and I would wait for the graphic novels and the trade paperbacks.
Yeah. But
But
I love the omnis because it's like I can go back in the Silver Age, Golden Age, and pick
mm,
up, a hard-bound volume that's got 30 issues in it or 40 issues, or I have a Why the Last Man that's got all 77 issues. And it's like 1,200 pages or 1,500 pages. It's like this.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I suppose the thing I like about comics is that there are excuse
oh,
me,
let's see.
there are formats for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you like floppies, you can go out to the local comic book shop, buy your floppies. If you want it digitally, you can get it digitally. I do disagree that the digital price for a single floppy is the same price as buying a floppy. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, there's no shipping involved, so why does it cost the same amount? Um, so I understand that. And trades and the ultimate collections you can get bound together, the absolute collections and stuff like that. Love them. I have a couple of the omnibus um, DC ones. I think I have a Robin one and a
Mm,
Batgirl one. It's just a collection of the backup strips from whether it be Detective Comics or Batman Family or wherever they've come from. So black and white. So they're good just to read. Just to have
yeah.
to read, and that's. But no, I do. I'm getting to the point where I need to think about what I'm doing about long boxes, being that I seem to have 12, 13 long boxes and one, two, mhm, 6 short boxes. So
I feel great that the last floppy I bought was probably before 2000, and the only floppies I have been given to me by creators. So like
so that's an interesting question. Can you remember what the last comic you bought?
well, no, because it was I used to buy monthly, and I used to get them shipped to me from DCBS, and because I where I lived at the time there wasn't a comics shop close,
Okay.
so I used to and it was cheaper. All right,
Mm,
so I was getting a discount for buying my monthlies, and then my it just times got tough, and I was just like cut that out, and it was easy to just stop a subscription.
mm.
But it was I was getting, I don't know, 50, 60 books a month. And I was, it's crazy when I think of it now, because it's just like, wow, I was paying that much a month for books.
Yeah.
So it
It,
was,
yeah, we were talking on No Price, weren't we, yesterday? With it, someone postulated the theory that the price of a comic book could cover the month. One comic book could cover the monthly price of an online subscription or something like Disney
yeah.
Plus. Uh,
Well, look at it this way. I have Marvel Unlimited. It costs me like $69 a year
mhm.
for unlimited access, and I have DC. DC is about the same amount. So I have Ultra on DC, so I get the books like a month after they hit the stands
Mhm.
digitally that I can read whenever. And like I said, I haven't read a DC book since the pandemic, so I could catch up pretty quick if I
Mhm.
want to. You know,
Oh my god! See, so I mean, there's ways and means for everybody. That's a
yeah,
good shout. That's a
yeah,
good shout. So enough of this newfangled technology. Let's go
yeah.
back in
It's true.
time.
That's true.
Our first book, we haven't. So all the books are from '94. That's kind of what we're looking at. And one of the big events in '94, if you can cast your mind back, all you DC fans, was Zero Hour, and it kind of all kicks off somewhere where you probably wouldn't expect it. And Professor, this was one of your choices. We'll have a look at a couple of books here. This is
Yeah.
Green Lantern Volume 3, number 48 from January 94. I couldn't find it on eBay. Could
Really?
not find it. Not UK version. On Go Collect, at a grade 9, I found it for $55.
Interesting.
That's what I thought. I was like, I read this book and I was like, whoa. It took me 55 minutes to read the damn thing. Never mind
Ah,
55.
which is
um,
surprising because this is Ron Mars, who is what you want to say, I would say a script minimalist, because he's usually like less words is more. And I appreciate that about Ron
mm.
Mars.
So, creator wise, you've got Ron Mars, as you mentioned, on writing, Bill Willingham on art, inks. Now, the guy on inks is probably the most consistent Green Lantern creator for a number of years across the board, and it's Romeo Tango, who's on inks. He's also helped out by Robert Campanella. I've got Albert de Guzman is on colors, and Anthony Tollin is on letters. So, why is this book so important? Other than it starts the demise of said Green Lantern.
Well,
What is it?
well, a couple of different things, right? I mean, this is the fall of Hal, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, any Green Lantern fan worth their salt knows that Hal um, turns on the Guardians post the destruction of Coast City, and goes a little bit nuts, right? And some of the most iconic covers, I think, for issue 49 was the most iconic cover with the Green Lantern with all the
Yeah,
rings,
yeah.
and this one is, this one starts where he realizes most of this book is a fantasy created by the Ring, where he recreates Coast City, and he's walking through and he's talking to his parents and he's talking to an old girlfriend, or and everything's got that pale shade of green,
Mm,
where you realize it's constructed by his ring. So you kind of realize his separation from reality, where he's kind of living in his own world at this point. And
mm-hmm,
he gets the idea in this particular issue that all I need is more power, and I can recreate Coast City and bring everybody back. I can
mm-hmm,
resurrect the dead, which is nuts. But at this point, Hal's a bit nuts. And for me, this, you know, this is just kind of a natural progression um, from DC's from Crisis, right? When
mm-hmm.
the books, like I talk to you all the time about DC being a little bit the same Z's kind of
Yeah.
when it comes to like a little old stale. But this
Funny
is
enough,
really
I've got that note. I have written that note somewhere in my.
yeah. Well, here when like especially when you're reading about like his kind of conflict and torture about the city being destroyed, it kind of reads like a Marvel book, a little
Mm,
bit with with him being conflicted and having those because superheroes at DC don't have that generally.
mm,
They're just I'm right and I'm gonna I'm just like Superman, you know and he never really worries about or wonders that if he's doing the right thing. Here,
mm.
Green Lantern's doesn't. He's not worried about whether he's doing the right thing. In fact, I think he knows he's doing the wrong thing, but
Yeah, it's still going for it.
yeah, but he's still going for it. You see, and you see the next couple of issues because I did read 48 through 50 for this pod, but you see him go up against the other Green Lanterns and just crushes them.
Yeah.
Just knocks them down like dominoes, and then waltzes into the power battery and becomes what's soon to be known as Parallax. The interesting thing about this issue is just the very last page. The very, very last page is the introduction of Kyle Rayner, future Green Lantern, who becomes, he actually is not even in the next issue of 49, but
Mm-hmm.
he's in the last couple of pages of 50 when Ganthet, the Guardian, should we say the surviving Guardian, because Hal kills the rest of them.
Oh, does he? I mean, he goes through them. You're
Spoiler
absolutely
alert!
right.
He,
Yeah,
he just burns through everybody, and then Ganthet escapes with a ring and gives it to Kyle at the end. And they don't even tell you his name's Kyle. You don't find that out until issue 51. But
there he
it
is with
was
all the
yeah, it was interesting because they showed Kyle and his girlfriend on the last page, and I was like, I wonder if Ron knew at that moment when he introduced both of them that within the next few months he was gonna fridge her.
Well, I actually have. I know the answer to this question.
Don't. Okay, well, please tell me.
I do know the answer. I've interviewed Ron Mars.
I've talked to Ron Mars as well.
And outside the palace, he's a good guy, an absolute gentleman. If you get a chance to see him at cons, speak to him. He is one of the most affable, friendly guys you'll ever speak to about comic books. And you ask him a question, he'll give you an honest answer. And the honest answer is Kyle's girlfriend was created to get killed. And that's the only reason she exists. Which,
well, there you go.
Which again feeds into that whole, women are there to be fridged sentimentality that came out around the Green Lantern book, which I have a copy of somewhere.
I wonder if he knew at the time what a chaos it was going to create.
Well,
even 30 years later, that just become a lexicon.
Well, no one. I think we've had this conversation. Nobody cares in 7 that Gwyneth Paltrow is only there to get killed at the end. Nobody bats an eyelid at Gwyneth Paltrow's absolutely
because the story's fantastic.
Well, yeah, well, is it though? She gets played. She gets played to being having an affair with Morgan Freeman. It's hinted at. That obviously is, everywhere she goes as a character, she's getting judged. She's not treated with the same equality as the blokes, but nobody bats an eyelid at 7. No one. And you're right, it's a great film, but no one bats an eyelid, and it's not the only. Peter David is forever throwing female characters out of the window, especially in his Trek books more than anything. So, and yet nobody bats an eyelid about Peter David's writing either. So to say that fridging existed after the Green Lantern issue, I think is a massive, massive misnomer. And I think it's very much let's hang our hat on this. They talk about, the sexualization of women in comic books, and nobody bats an eyelid at Nicki Minaj videos on MTV or Beyonce or Dua Lipa or whichever girl is cavorting around half naked.
Nobody she's singing about her WAP.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, how explicit can you get? But, oh, no, that's fine. We don't have one woman in a swimsuit, for Christ's sakes. Come on. Come on.
It seems like we touched a nerve, Johnny.
I just feel, especially over here in the UK, where I'm not surrounded by a whole host of comic book fans. My comic book fans are you guys on the shows, right?
Sure.
So I end up having to defend all this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, so I'll go to a comic book store and I'll I bought some comics, and they're like, oh, what have you bought? And I don't want to show them that I've bought the Spider-Woman cover with her in the snowsuit, because I just don't want the grief. Because they'll say, oh, you've bought that because the boobs are out. No, I bought it because it's a really good cover. And by the way, don't you like such and such and such and such? Yeah, and then the girls start talking about how hot, what's his face is? And Chris Hemsworth. Oh, Chris Hemsworth's fit. Yeah, I love it when he takes his shirt off. It's exactly the same.
It's hypocritical, Johnny, is what it is.
Anyway, shake it off, as Travis Kelce might do later when we watch the Super Bowl.
So the reason I brought that up was the
just to wind me up.
No, it was the whole 1994 thing, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I mean, this is the way everything was 1994, and so this issue was right at the beginning of 1994 where they introduced Kyle, and then by the time we get to the book that you're going to talk about, he's already in there as Green Lantern, and still doesn't really know anybody, but this. Yeah, I mean, Hal kills Sinestro. Kills Sinestro. The thing that bugs me is that none of this ever sticks. It's a great book, and you're just like, Ah, man. And then 10 years later, the Core's back, Sinister's back, you know,
Oh, can we say Jean Grey?
Hal's back. Yeah. It's a
Uh,
and I think that lends to uh the 0 hour. What we're talking about is just like, you're playing with the time frames. You're never gonna fix anything
mm,
because the writers cherry pick what they like, and they cherry pick what they want, and whatever you do, the next writer's going to change it. So that's part of the things. I mean, I like the attempts. Like
mhm,
when I read 0 hour for the pod, that was I was like, oh, they're doing, hey, good college try to fix Hawkman, you know. And then 5 years later, Jeff John's going to fix him again.
yeah.
So it's what it is. What it is. I mean, just take what you haven't before,
Mhm,
and just take what you like, add what you want to do. And if you want to do a story about Hal killing the Core, that's cool, but
yeah.
I can ignore it. I mean, I
I
guess
think it. Go on.
no, I think it flies in the face of what I usually think, because
Yeah.
I'm usually a huge continuity guy. But when it comes to time stuff and like people changing whole cloth, DC's more guilty of it than Marvel, I think. Because when you come to Crisis and 0 hour and Final Crisis and New
Mhm.
52 and Rebirth, I mean that's just like, wipe everything, erase the chalkboard and start again. you know. But
I
it,
find it. I find it odd that nobody complains that he broke his neck, and yet Superman does it in the movie, and all hell's to pay. I
well,
don't get it. And that's not the worst one. He absolutely,
oh no, he kills Kilowog, man.
he absolutely blasts Kilowog to
Yeah,
death.
yeah.
Oh, I've
Uh,
never liked Hal Jordan.
uh,
Never liked Hal Jordan.
I didn't like him when they gave him the Reed Richards white on the sides. I like the younger Hal, but
The classic Hal.
yeah.
But no, we get to see, as you said, becomes the ultimate Green Lantern, Parallax eventually. Ganther gets the ring and then gives it to, and I like it. Oh, you'll do, and there you go.
Yeah.
But the I suppose the upshot is Carl's an artist, isn't he? He's a graphic artist, so he
Mm-hmm.
gets to at least have good fun creating some of the constructs down the line.
That was kind of the fun of Kyle, right? Because he was more
Yeah,
imaginative than Hal ever was.
yeah, cool.
So
I didn't mind Kyle. I must admit, I wasn't buying Green Lantern at the time. And in fact, 94, 95 is just about 95 is probably where I stepped out of comics for a while. So Kyle wasn't on my radar particularly, other than, it's another Green Lantern. I've since gone back and bought Shed Loads of Justice League. I don't mind him. I think he's a nice addition to the Justice League. The fact that he's not super cocky, he doesn't know everything about everything, is a nice kind of turn of pace for the book and for the hero. A little bit naive in places, but him and Wally strike up a decent little friendship. I think that's pretty cool.
yeah.
So
I always like Kyle, but and then what we talk about 1994, and I know we're not talking about any of these books, but there's a lot of characters introduced in 1994 that are still around today.
go for it. Educate us, Professor.
Impulse shows up in 1994. We have the Artemis version of Wonder Woman.
Cool.
She comes in 1994. The Jack Knight Starman.
Love
After
that. Love that.
the
James
James
Robinson book.
Robinson run.
Perfect.
So these are characters that kind of reinvented a little bit, right? I mean, that Starman was kind of like that one of those fringe cool books, like if you were a cool, educated DC Comics reader, you were reading Starman.
This is why I bought it after the event. I was never cool, nor thinking.
Yeah, but I mean, it was showed. I guess maybe I don't want to call it a renaissance at
No, you can.
DC,
I think you can. I think you absolutely can.
So
I think it's that is that getting rid of that whole sort of art uber alles mentality and
Yeah.
actually remembering, you know what, guys, there's another part of comic books we should be focusing on. It's called this crazy thing called the writing. And if we can make the writing stick, then the art's going to just take care of itself.
Well, and that's where I kind of think with DC, they did event books better than Marvel, I think,
Mm,
because these events like Zero Hour
mhm,
open the door to for them to try new things.
mhm,
And with Marvel, Marvel does an event and next month you've forgotten about it already. So DC, who actually they will come up with this event, but then they'll come out with 5 or 6 new titles, and then
mhm.
you're like, oh, let me check out the new Justice Society book that's
Mm,
coming out of Zero Hour. Oh,
right.
let me check out the new uh who's this book that Damage, right?
Yeah,
Damage comes out in 1994. Okay, that seems pretty cool. New character, see how he fits in. They introduced Connor Hawke in Green Arrow.
yep,
Let's go check out, see what Green Arrow is doing right now. So
yep,
that stuff's all interesting and bringing in fresh blood and new readers, right? Because if a new reader, maybe Hal Jordan seems a little too intimidating for you to go back and get 40 years worth of continuity. So
yeah.
here's a new Green Lantern. Maybe I can start reading this. DC
Okay.
always did that better than Marvel.
I think it's when you've got a character like Green Lantern, like the Hal Jordan Green Lantern. There's only so many times you can read him and Carol having a falling out and her turning into Star Sapphire.
Yep.
So you get a chance to redo it with a new hero.
Yep.
Um, I agree. I think DC's events, maybe not so much now, but in the past, would certainly a lot stronger. Um, as you said, Marvel books, you forget about it. You forget about a month later. Are you kidding me? I've forgotten what we read yesterday on No Prize. Never mind.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, you get these event books, and my big argument was the Marvel with the event books was that they start great, and then by the end of it, you're just like, oh, come on.
Yeah,
They just didn't never stick the landing. That's why I call that. You have to stick the
yeah.
landing.
Tie-ins do my head in. I hate when stuff happens in the tie-in book. If you've
Yeah.
got like a mini series for an event, then the stuff should happen in the mini series. It shouldn't happen off screen somewhere else.
Yep.
No, that's fine. All right, but that's how they make the money, I suppose. Time for an advert for one of our other shows. We mentioned No Prize a lot, so
Mm.
seems only fair, doesn't it? Check it out. No Prize Podcast. There you have it, the No Prize Podcast featuring that guy over there.
Yay! And that guy over there.
And Lucas and his 20-minute 2-minute warning.
Hey, we all like seeing what's coming.
We love the 2-minute warning. Lucas, don't you? So we love that 2-minute warning. It's one of the things that I love the most about that show. And then, of course, I have to read the books in 2 weeks' time when they come out, and then I hate them all over again. All right, okay.
Covers look good.
Yay.
Anyway.
Anyway, right. So we've been talking about Zero Hour, so it makes fair sense to have a look at the actual book itself. This is the Zero Hour trade that we're looking at here. Zero Hour came out in September 94. How big an event was this? Well, I'll tell you how big an event for this. You can get all 5 issues on eBay, bid starting at 99 pence.
There we go.
That's it. I found the 4th issue at £1.50, and on Go Collect a grade 9 for the 4th issue. Number 4 is $12. Now, why am I saying 4th instead of 1st? Well, because it's a countdown, essentially. And you start at 4 and you work your way down to 0. The 0 hour.
Hey,
Makes sense.
DC did this gimmick quite a bit.
Yeah.
Y-
So you've got it's written by then probably the 90s version of Jeff Johns in Dan Jurgens. Yeah, he
I was
was
gonna
Mr.
say,
DC.
what says '90s DC more than Dan Jurgens and Jerry Ordway?
Exactly. So Dan is on art. I would love to have him on the show. Jerry Ordway also is on there. Gregory Wright and Gaspar Zaldino is also providing some of the art. We get to see other credits coming up. There we are. Sorry, Casper and Richard Starkins and Comicraft provide the letters. Gregory Wright and Stuart Chavis, as you can see, Chavetz is on colours. Zero Crisis in Time. Essentially, it's an attempt to to clear up some of DC's continuity a little bit and kind of like brush out cut the wheat from the chaff, as it were. Um, I am not wholly convinced it works brilliantly. Um, and what makes me kind of not not snigger, but shake my head a little bit is I was looking through this book before the pod, and I'm just thinking just how loud and cluttered it is, and
Yeah,
it reminds me of Crisis, the first Crisis, and it just gets really cluttered and really convoluted. Um, some of the art and these are all 5 issues, so the art changes slightly. The overall idea here in um, the whole 0 hour theory story is that it follows on Crisis of Infinite Earths. It's an idea there to try and reconcile some of the continuity problems I said. The villain is extant, which is formerly Hawk of Hawk and Dove. He's somehow acquired temporal powers and then starts jotting down the DC's timeline to try and sort out as I said, the continuity gaffs. Think of it like Jim Salicrup with a big red pen. uh, what can I say? But in all essence, the real bad guy behind the scene is actually Hal Jordan, who's now Parallax, who's trying to remake the universe to undo the events which caused the destruction of Core City so that his beloved town can exist again. So think of it like, I suppose, a superhero butterfly effect type of scenario.
yeah,
Yeah.
as much of a butterfly effect as you can have in a time travel story. It's
Well,
like, yeah,
if you go back and I do this, then this was going to happen. But it doesn't quite work like that. So I've got to keep going back and changing other little bits to, and you kind of like it gets really weird. Power Girl's pregnant at one point. It's like
yeah,
where I was like, where did that come from? And yes, I know when a man and a woman love each other very much to share a special kiss. I know all about that.
yeah, but they
But
never really know. They never really like kind of go into who the dad is.
is it not Hal Jordan himself? Because the Power Girl and Hal had a bit of a thing.
I don't know. They never go
I don't
into it.
know. I don't
She's
know.
just pregnant, and then she has a baby, and then they never even go. They never even is a thing
Yeah,
other than
where's the baby go? Where?
subplot. Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
subplot that just doesn't go anywhere. It comes from nowhere.
Jesus complex. All right, so it is 90s DC. As I mentioned, they're moving away from the like art uber hours. They're trying to go with some story. I'm not sure this is the best example of that, but there's extent
This is the
doing these
beginning.
things. Yeah,
What's this from? This isn't from Zero Hour.
it is 0 hour trade paperback. Yeah,
It's from the trade, but it's not from the original stories.
it is. Is it-
I just no, it's not Zero Hour number 4 or
What is it
3
then?
or 2. I don't know. That's why I'm asking you.
And this is what I've got down as 0 hour crisis in time.
Okay, I read that. Well, I read 0 hour 43210 this morning,
Okay.
and this is not any of that.
Oh no.
I don't know. I don't know what all this stuff we're looking at is.
All right. This is the stuff that was that
This
we
might have been
sent.
like a preview or a
Excuse
uh,
me.
maybe like a setup issue.
So where does 0 hour
Right
start then for
there,
you? This is it.
turn back a page with Time Trapper.
Is that it?
That's the first page of 0 hour
There you
number
go.
4. So
So there you go. We've
everything
had
that
some
yeah,
prefix. So we had some prefix.
there you
Excellent.
go. Yeah.
Cool. So yes, now we're getting to the nitty gritty. Boom. There it is. Countdown to 0 hour. Darkseid has a moment. Batgirl has a moment.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that
Well,
in a little while.
that's where you start noticing stuff because at this point you're past Killing Joke and you have Batgirl show up and you're like, what the heck? And then of course you also see a different Robin, right? You see a
Yeah.
different Robin. So to me it's just like okay, multiverse. They don't really talk multiverses, right?
No, they
Except
don't.
because Crisis supposedly fixed all that, right? And then now you have I I kind of just say leaks in the dam,
That's a shout.
perhaps.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah.
So yeah, so Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, that's a leak in the dam. You have I think it's is it the Dick Grayson Robin or Jason Todd shows up? I don't know if they ever really say, but Robin shows up. You got the different things. I love the visual they did with Hawkman
We'll
right
get to
before. Yeah.
I just want quickly before we move on. You gotta love Robin. Yeah, she looks okay to me. Really okay. Calm down, Robin. Calm down. You young tyke. All hormones he is, bless him. Yeah, there's a Robin there hiding in the
Yeah, a
in the
different Robin
wings.
hiding in
Yeah.
the wings.
I assume that it's Dick Grayson. There you go. The Vashon point outside the time stream, some flashes, and you know for well if there's a flash involved, you know it's going to go wrong somewhere along the line, which it does because it's the Flash.
See, he sacrifices himself yet again,
Yeah.
but this time it's in the very first pages of the story, and
Not again,
so
not another Flash. Poof, off he goes. But he manages to survive, I guess. Um, I like Jurgens with Batman and Superman. You don't see it very often, but I think
yeah,
I think he has the thumb on the pulse for the pair up for sure.
yeah. 90s Jurgens, I think, is just really dynamic. I like his class. It's like classic comic book, like 80s art. It's it's like a John Byrne, George Perez era. Jurgens fits right in with what they're trying to do and what they're Superman's supposed to look big and menacing. It's like he's Batman's supposed to he's dark. So right, like he fits right in with the 80s, and then of course Booster Gold is in here too, and that's Jurgens' creation. So can't have Dan Jurgens without having Booster Gold somewhere hiding around. So
no, indeed. Kyle getting a bit of a run out there. Dark Stars. I never got into Dark Stars. I must admit.
It was kind of funny when I saw Donna as a Dark Star. I was like, "Oh, that's a blast from the past."
Yeah,
what happened to them? I was like, Dark Stars. That's nothing says '90s like Dark Stars. And
well, they are making a bit of a reoccurrence in the current Green Lantern book.
Are they?
There's some Dark Star stuff going on. Spectre, and I'm going to alienate a load of people. I've never been a huge Spectre fan. I find him an absolute.
Oh yeah, me neither.
It's like too powerful for his own good, but then doesn't do anything with it.
He's one of those characters that's so like enigmatic that if there's anything, if you're writing a comic book and there's something that you can't explain, throw Spectre in there.
Yeah, yeah. To the same extent, I suppose you could have the Phantom Stranger that list, but at least it's a little bit more accessible.
Same thing. Phantom Stranger's just the same. You're coming up with something and you want something to be intentionally unexplainable, throw a Phantom Stranger or Spectre in there.
There's just a society there going on.
They did a
Interesting. They all run with their right leg. Have you noticed?
say
They're
that
all in
again.
the
Oh yeah, there. Yeah,
yeah,
look at that. Oh,
yeah,
interesting. And the same pose too, like running
yeah,
with
yeah,
their arms out. Yeah, look at that.
yeah.
I didn't notice that before. Good show.
Um,
They did a lot with Justice Society in this limited series, because post Crisis, where they had all the universes had collided, they kept the Justice Society, but they made them all old. Right, so they made them like, you were in World War II, and now you're here, and now you're in your 50s, but now it's in the 90s. And do we really explain why they're not in their 80s or in their, they should still be aging? So, answer to this: kill them all off, age them up, kill them all off, make them retire.
I love the Justice Society.
Me too.
I love the society more than the League, if I'm honest.
I think the characters in there are just, I like them. They're just like the original copies. Golden Age stuff. I'm a fan.
It gets a little bit Perez-y here with all the cosmic shenanigans going on here.
Too many characters.
Yeah, definitely.
The double page spreads with everybody coming at you. And there was, I don't know if it was in this issue, might have been the second issue, where Superman brings everybody together. I think it was this issue. You just showed it. Half the characters in there, I was like, who the heck are some of these people? Because you might have been around in 1994, but you sure as hell aren't around today. And a lot of them, like, they go through some of these Scream 90s, the Team Titans, that are all over this book. The Ray, even though the Ray is based on a Golden Age character, this one, he's, he had his little claim to fame, right? Didn't he have a bit of a time? But Maxima,
Maxima. I love Maxima on Superman and Justice League again written by Jurgens. Love Maxima.
These younger Legion of Superheroes characters, they're
all in there. I think the thing that I kind of liked the most out of the whole thing is the Green Arrow Batgirl relationship towards the end of the book.
And I missed that, because I was like, I don't remember Green Arrow and Barbara ever having something. But was it Barbara as Oracle, or?
No, that's just how he sticks for her. He's like, she just wants to live. That's all she wants to say. And he's like, yeah. So I think that works really well.
No, I thought it was interesting. There was a lot of stuff going on here. It was like little character moments, but there was so many characters. Most of them are just in the background. They're not even figuring in the story. They're just populating the background. Like, they just showed Red Tornado and Martian Manhunter, and I'm just like, they weren't even in the book. They're just in the background hanging out. So,
Supergirl and Power Girl. Supergirl doesn't do much in this either. No, you're right. I think the cast of characters is too big for it to have actually any sort of impact for every single character. Probably why they learned the lesson when they went back and did Final Crisis and they said, right, we're just keeping this to Power Girl's relationship with Cal, and everything else just is around that. Rather than trying to cover all these different bases. But no, I think it. Oh, look, there's the original Green Lantern ring.
So you say, with what's coming up with DC with 30 years in the making, you believe that it's something to do with 0 Hour?
I am led to believe it is that. Obviously, they don't ring me up and say, "Hey, machines, what do you think of this idea?" But what else is kicking around in '94?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Yeah. Then and DC's been doing a lot of stuff with multiverses, like a lot of Batman running around too, right?
Yeah.
So that's just kind of like a shout that something 0 hour is going to be happening.
I do like the classic Batgirl look, though.
Me too.
I like the classic Batgirl look. Definitely.
Yeah,
And,
when they
did
show
remember
it,
listening.
yeah, when they
Go
show it
on.
here, it's when they show it here, it just reminds you, like it's like, oh man, we haven't seen that Batgirl suit in 10 years.
Yeah, it's crazy, crazy, crazy. Right. So Zero. That's the kind of thing. That's the whole story. That's the whole. It starts off with Hal. Continuity gets mashed together again to give us a greater whole, but does it really? Because then we have to have Final Crisis down the line anyway.
We have a couple more crises.
Crises.
Yeah,
I mean, my personal favorite one's Identity Crisis. I think that's well done. I don't know if that
I
falls within a remit yet, so we're not there yet.
I loved Identity Crisis too. Yeah, we're a
Mm,
few years away from being able to talk about that
so
book.
so clever, so clever. One of those books that kind of just was absolutely. It doesn't happen very often, but every now and again you get a book that just absolutely surprises you, and that was it for me.
Well, it came out of left field. You weren't used to you weren't used to someone taking those old Silver Age books and turning it on their heads like it did, and not
Indeed.
and not ignoring continuity, embracing continuity and adding to it. I don't. I mean, people throw around retcon all the time, but when it's done like that,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like those in between the pages of the story, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and those are the clever ones. Those are the ones I
Yeah.
really like.
And some of those things really stuck. Tim Drake's dad, for example. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
All right, our last book then. We've talked about how it started. We've talked about the middle bit, the actual thing. This is probably one of my favorite issues of the whole shebang. And of course, the professor loves his Avengers, and I love me some Batman. It's just the way of the world. This is Batman 511 from September '94. Not an expensive book. If you can get it for a fiver, on eBay on Go Collect, $23 to have a recorded sale of. There is a higher price on this as well, but on average it's 23 that you can buy it for. It's written by Batman. In fact, I would say we talk about Chuck Dixon being the sort of Bat guru of the 90s. We forget that Doug Moench was the Bat guru from the 80s throughout in places. He left for a
yeah.
while and came back. So Doug Moench, Mike Manley, who I must admit doesn't really work for me art-wise normally. Joseph Rubinstein is on inks. It's a DC book of the 90s, so it has to be Adrian Roy on colors. And Ken Brusniak is on letters. Now, I love this era of Batman, whether it's Munch or Dixon, and I love the cover. The whole shock of the idea of Batgirl's back. And we saw it teased already.
Batgirl's back, but she's sitting in a wheelchair right there. Who
As
is
well.
this Batgirl? Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Is it another imposter? Which DC have done that more times than
it's a Skrull. Oh no, wait.
Now, don't have to swear at me. Turns out it is actually Barbara Gordon from a different universe. Things are different for her than they are for our Batman and Robin. So here the vigilantes are being chased by police, orders shoot to kill. Jim Gordon's dead already. A cape seems to change colours quite a lot, which I find it peculiar. And it's alluded to that her and Bats have got a thing going on. There's the new Robin, or the old Robin, even. The Joker listens in. Things are slightly different. Things are slightly the same. It's a kind of like a what if book to some extent, and there's no major real ramifications out of this book. You think there would be if Barbara goes and sees Barbara, which is what happens. But it's just kind of just another day in the life of Gotham. Although Bats does say something's going on that's outside his purview, and off he goes to Metropolis to talk about it. So I think this is a tie-in. This is how a tie-in should work. You see the pages in the 0 Hour book where Bats and Batgirl and Robin meet up again, and then
Yeah.
you see those mirrored in this book. But then it goes off and does that thing, but doesn't impact the major story. So you can go back to 0 Hour and just read the story, if you know. So it's your choice,
Yep.
isn't it, whether you go into this? I thought
Yep.
this book was pretty good, and yet my note that said here is you mentioned that the Times DC books feel stale. My question to you is that could that be because you have writers like Doug Monch on the books who kind of just they start writing in the 80s, write for a while, leave, and then come back and do another 5 to 10 year stint. So you actually has anything really changed from a creator point of view?
Yeah, because I think people's writing styles change over time, and I think that
Excuse me.
they can kind of redo. I mean, this book doesn't read like a 70s book, or
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't read like that. There's a lot going on in here as
Uh
far as
huh.
they want to make you feel like is Batman did Batman shift universes, or is this stuff coming in from elsewhere?
Mm-hmm.
Because he shows up, he actually goes to check on Commissioner Gordon, and then finds Harvey, and Harvey is Two-Face, and then he's not Two-Face, and then he's the commissioner, and he's not, and then Commissioner Gordon's dead, and then he's alive. He visits the grave, but then he's alive, and then so he doesn't know what's going on, and
Mm.
it actually confuses you as you read it. So if you're not buying 0 Hour, if you didn't read the regular book, you're reading this and you're going, what in the crap is going on in this?
Mm.
It's weird. And this was before they really kind of, I mean, multiverse is so old hat these days.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, and even with DC, they did, Earth 1, Earth 2, blah 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 blah. They did your annual Justice League Justice Society crossover, but for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
the paints didn't mix, right?
Mm.
So you kind of, when you see something like this where they're intentionally trying to confuse you, um, it can be a little weird.
Mm.
But I mean, now, I mean, we read it now, and of course you're like, oh well, it's another version of Batgirl, yet another one. It's what day is it? Must be Tuesday. So
Bit harsh.
I, I'm sorry, jaded with when it comes to multiverses, and don't even talk to me about what Marvel's doing, because everything's multiverse now. So
Yeah, tell me about it. But I think I see the light shining through. Multiverses are probably coming to an end. Hopefully, that's what this is going to allude to. This whole 30 years in the making.
what
We've
are they
had
gonna
30.
they're
Yeah.
gonna reset the DC universe again, and then
Well, they
3 or 4 years
just
from now they'll do it again.
well, they just do a soft version, don't they? I mean, you're absolutely right. We had Flashpoint, then we had New 52, then we had Rebirth. Now we have what's it called now? Oh, I had it there.
Is it called
Uh,
something now?
yeah, it's what's it? Oh, I can't remember what it's called. It's DC something, obviously. Um, DC Hangfire. Hangfire. It says
Well, it's for me, I just
Dawn
think
of DC. Dawn of DC is what it is.
Dawn of
Sorry.
DC.
Yeah,
So
so it's kind of like an idea of going back to the basics. Although, as I mentioned at the start, Bats is still multiversing and so on. So hopefully this 30 years in the making thing could be a way of like saying, right, enough's enough. Let's just get back one universe and be done with it.
I thought they were fixing a lot of that stuff when they did Rebirth, and they did the Watchmen crossover with Batman and Flash, and then brought Wally back and all
That's
that.
a really
And then
see
so,
the Doomsday Clock didn't actually give you a lot, and then they went and muddied the water by having three Jokers. So
yeah, I actually never read that. Was that good? Should I pick it up?
it was all right. It was all right.
Uh,
Jason Faybock's art is gorgeous.
I talked to him a few years ago when he was working on it, and then
And
it didn't come out for like another year and a half after I talked to him.
no, his art's really, really good. What else? And then it's Jeff Johns writing. So Jeff Johns, a lot of the ideas end up in Beyond Flashpoint, which is another little sort of like mini series that ran a couple of years ago. So that was all right as well. So but as you said, there's no real ramifications to these things. So,
Well, if you like the stories, and sometimes, I mean, I understand the reason they have to try to do something, you know. If you want to have continuity, if you want your readers to understand what's going on now, but be able to feel like they can go back and pick up a story from 20 or 30 years ago, then you have to do stuff like this. Because other than that, what's the incentive for them to go pick up, a 1970s version of Batman if you're not going to understand what's happening, or if they think that it's a different Batman altogether, or,
yeah. The in the Batman book we just looked at, there's an allusion, or it's alluded to, that Bats and Batgirl have a thing going on. This is one of those controversy moments that kind of flies in the face. Some people love the idea, some people hate the idea. I'm curious, Professor, where do you sit on the whole Batman and Bruce, not Batman and Barbara scenario?
It's weird. It's weird because you have your Bruce and Barbara camp, but then you have your Barbara and Dick camp, right?
Okay, yeah.
Because the Barbara and Dick did have a legit relationship in the current in DC, right? So when you allude to the fact that, hey, maybe Barbara and Bruce have something going on, it kind of opens the door to maybe that's a kind of a weird thing. It's a weird dynamic, right? So
See, I have a foot in both camps. I I don't necessarily like Barbara with Nightwing.
uh-huh.
Uh, there's just something too twee about the whole thing. Whereas I like the contrast of Bruce with Barbara. In fact, you could argue it's the same. I suppose Barbara and Nightwing are more equal than Batman
Now,
and Barbara would be. But
is in the animated Killing Joke, weren't Bruce and Barbara together, or they had
well,
a thing in that?
yeah, they did. It's also been alluded in Batman the animated series beforehand, alluded to in Batman Beyond. So it's kind of like an animated thing rather than a comic book thing. You got to
Huh.
think when this book came out it was '94, so it's the height of the Batman the animated series type thing. Of course, the
Yeah.
Killing Joke cartoon only came out like 3-4 years ago, so they
Well,
just took it to its natural.
in the comics, there's much of a bigger age difference between Bruce and Barbara, right?
Yeah, there is. Yeah,
So
and you've got to remember everyone talks about how Robin and Batgirl grew up together. Well, actually, Barbara might be the same age as Robin, but Robin was being Robin for longer. She
yeah,
was never introduced as the girl sidekick that grew up into Batgirl. She came in as Batgirl. So,
yeah. I was
so
I was looked at Barbara being maybe a few years older than Dick.
yeah, I'm in that. I'm in that camp.
Yeah.
I think they de-aged her a little bit for New 52, which then obviously makes
Oh
it a
yeah,
little
yeah,
bit more
yeah.
palpable for her to be
Well,
with
because didn't
Grayson.
Stephanie had a big following as Batgirl, right?
I love
Spoiler.
Stephanie.
So
Stephanie's my favorite Batgirl and Robin.
yeah, yeah, but but Stephanie was like a teen, right? So,
Yeah,
so of course, when they bring back Barbara, they kind of made her the same age as Stephanie, right?
maybe not quite as
That way you keep both fan bases.
well, maybe not quite as young as that, but still, yeah, I get the point. I mean, I love Stephanie. She's my favorite. Anyway, by the by, there you
Or,
go. 1994, Zero Hour. Go check it out if you want to go through the back issue bins. It's not an expensive exercise to do. If you want to get it on DC what's it called? Your app, DC Universe,
DC Infinite.
DC Infinite.
Yeah.
Is that available worldwide?
I believe it is.
That would make a
I'm not
change.
sure. I'm just in my little part of the world. I'm not sure if it's available for you over there, but check it out.
Let me check.
Yeah.
Where's my Google
You'd like
Store?
it. There's not as much. Well, I mean, there's a ton of stuff on there. Just don't look for like full runs of like Batman or Superman because there's huge gaps missing. They have like the first couple hundred issues, and then they're missing the middle, and then like a lot of the old Silver Age stuff from like the late 50s and 60s, not there. So.
Okay. Well, yes,
But
it's available on the Drive on Google Play. So it's available on Google Play. It's available on iOS. So check it out. If you don't have the funds to go looking for comic books,
or if you don't have the time or inclination, but you want to check stuff out, hey,
go to the comic book man. Go and buy some bloody comics. Stop being a wuss about it.
Hey.
All right, there you go.
There's a lot of people that might not be near a comic book store.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Fair enough.
So.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm lucky, I suppose, that I get to be around two. Although one is a little bit out of my reach, but still. 3 if you include the one that I held abuse at for being terrible. All right, there you go. Another round of comics from yesteryear. Professor, thank you so much for spending the time. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Johnny.
Okay. Don't forget to check out all your favorite shows on the UCPN, including Professor.
No Prize Podcast, all about the Marvel Comics, DCU and MCU, Jesus, and Disney Plus. I was missing that, but
yeah, it's fine. It's cool. And if you want to catch up with what's going on, as we mentioned, with DC Comics, you can check out the Definitive Crusade, which drops alternate weeks to us and No Prize. And if you want to hear about current comic book creators, don't forget to check out Outside the Panels. There you go. That pretty much covers everything you want. Before we go, Professor, at the time of recording, it's championship weekend. Who have you got today? Who are you going for?
So I'd like to see. I think the 49ers are going to win, and I think the Chiefs are going to win, and we're going to have a 49ers and Chiefs Super Bowl.
Is that what we're going for? Is it okay?
Well, you're going to go for Baltimore and Detroit.
Am I Nelly? This is a shout out to my work colleague Gareth, who is a huge Baltimore Ravens fan. I'm shouting for the Chiefs mainly because we have a bet that if the Ravens win the Super Bowl, I have to buy him breakfast. If the Ravens don't win the Super Bowl, he's buying me breakfast. So
there
go
you go.
Chiefs!
Yeah, we want free breakfast.
Yeah, I want free breakfast, and I'm shouting for the Lions just because they haven't been there before. So I'm going for them.
I'd like to see Jared Goff in there. I think he deserves it.
Agreed. Although I also want Brock Purdy to get paid.
He's going to get paid anyway, right?
Well, it just needs to, doesn't he? Because he's killing it, so it's fine. Right, there you go. We're going to get out of here. We're going to get ready for the championship games. We're going to try and read some more comics. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another theme and another look back at yesteryear. That's it for this show. I have been your host, Johnny Machine Hughes, and as always, adios. He says eventually when the titles roll.